forward. Yes, yes. But you see, this order came from the federal government before she sold it. She becomes us, teaser, and then go or subtract. She will talk like that. So as I was saying, my husband, ladies, we haven't talked her about it, but we probably will talk to her. But you see, what he produced, no, we want them to help in another direction. You see, where they actually distribute the goods, like daycare centers, or where they keep their children. So there's a market because there's such things. This is just high businesses.
Quando eu continuo a You can see the egg and then have the cashew. That's why they are always under the leaves.
And out of this area, how big a crop can you make? About 1 pound or
when they peel, they wash the peel, then grated, after grating, they put it in bag and put it on that plate. And after boiling, it's ready for frying. And end product is what you find in the
It's not And then happy mom. Happy mom. Yeah, welcome to Apple now.
Thank you very much. Very happy to treasure this as a reminder of my visit here. I wish the whole project here much success in the future. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes,
ma'am.
No, it's all right. I think
On behalf of the British Council, thank you for your kindness in giving us this visit.
Thank you very much. And I wish you back
Well, I have
when you come back to rural areas and you
perhaps I come back there'll be more of you.
ẹ bá mi pàtẹ́wọ́ fún wọn.
Thank you very much.
Dúpẹ́ tèmi. Bàbá dúpẹ́ o. Bàbá dúpẹ́ o. Ọmọ tó dúpẹ́ oore àná ọpẹ́ fún bàbá. Bàbá yóò tún ṣe láyé rẹ̀. Oore rẹ̀ máa pọ̀. Nílò là ó fà. Oore rẹ̀ máa pọ̀. Nílò là ó fà. Nínú ewu ẹ̀gbọ́n olùsọ́dá wá sí bàbá. Ọpẹ́ yìí ló yọ bàbá dúpẹ́. Bàbá níyà.
continuation of an exchange program which this human contingent went to the United States of America with theater production, with the hope of development, so that we could bring their expertise to us here to assist us, because they want to come back to their homeland and the stage of the development that we are, to inspire them to do things here which they may not grab, believing, of course, that if this program is successful, citizens of Lagos in particular, but also for the benefits of the I was not able to lead the economic team at that time, but the team did go around and to make the initial contacts with the Lagos Chamber of Commerce, with the World Trade Center, with Nigerian Film Corporation, and a few other places, to let them know that we are planning, as part of this exchange program, a package that will include an economic and investment aspect. Now, Mr. Sayeka has come in March this year as a follow-up to these previous activities, and he has come to see for himself exactly what is happening here, and he would like to be able to go back with first-hand information to investors with whom he has already spoken before he came, and to others who are interested in bringing their expertise into this country. So, sir, this is a very brief introduction to the whole program, and what we believe is that it has to come and pay homage, as we always do, to the very source, of this exchange program. And I must say it's one of the programs that have received a lot of support from the state government, for which we are very, very grateful at the Council of Arts and Culture. So, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mr. Ete Lamidi is the head of the Bureau of Information, Tourism and Culture. He is a seasoned public servant, and he is in fact in a position which enables him to be the man that has the last say virtually, on this occasion. I have met with him. We have first in June last year, and then
the United States, particularly the African American citizens, and on behalf of those of us from California, which is the Republic of California, its official name. And on behalf of Wajumbe, we wish to express our profound appreciation to you, sir, and gratitude for the kindness that this office has bestowed upon us in the exchange. We wish, of course, to thank my good friend, Brother Shonaga, for all that he has done to make all of this possible. We regard him as a citizen of the Republic of California. And I just told him this morning that I am assuming that I am probably now a citizen of Nigeria, because I am learning to behave as though I am in Nigeria and not in America. So it's very good to be here, and I want again to publicly thank you for the support that your office has shown us, and certainly hope that you will continue to support the efforts that are being expressed here. Let me also say to the people of Lagos and to the people of Nigeria that I am very profoundly impacted by this trip. The last time that I was in Africa was some 22 years ago. I was primarily in East Africa doing some work in Tanzania. And at that particular time, the African American community had developed a very strong and powerful linkage economically, politically, and culturally with Tanzania. And some 22 years later, we are now, I think, maturing to the point that we're doing the same thing in West Africa. Ultimately, we hope to forge such linkages, of course, in Central and Southern Africa, as the environment there permits. And so this is, for me, a homecoming. When I touched ground yesterday morning, well, let me tell you, before I touched ground, we almost landed, and then the airplane just suddenly took off again. Well, I travel U.S. Airlines, and I know what that means. Something didn't go right. And so he eventually circled back and said, I didn't land because of the fog. But I noted the time that we did land, and I wrote it in my diary. I returned home to the motherland. So it's this is a very important trip for me personally, and it's because many people back in the States are expecting me to come back with the good news of what is happening here. in Nigeria and how the general condition of the African world is. And so I come to you bearing those words as an ambassador, if you would, for the African American community. Now let me also just say that in particular, I am extremely pleased to be in Nigeria and in Lagos at this particular time, in its own political and economic development. It is my contention that the future of Africa is very much predicated on what happens in Nigeria. Of course, there are other states whose future is impacted by Africa as well, but those of us who look at the African world, those of us in the diaspora, if you would, look at Nigeria as a very special and particular place in the world because of its population resources, because of its natural resources. And of course, we should all remember that those of us who were taken from Africa were taken from this region of Africa, that much of the population in the United States traces its origin, to the extent that it can, directly back to West Africa. And in particular to this region of West Africa, to Yoruba land. We still have vestiges of Yoruba culture. In my home is Louisiana. And there are many practices that resemble what we find in Yoruba land. In a place called South Carolina off the coast, there are many African retentions. And in the Caribbeans, which preceded the southern states, there are many retentions. And so we feel very close here. As a matter of fact, in my hometown, the most favorite dish in New Orleans, Louisiana, where I come from, is called gumbo, which is a West African word meaning okra, and there is a little town in Nigeria on the map called Gumbo. I'll have to let my friends at home know that I am really home here. And then when I eat the okra dish, then I know that I will have come home completely. But we look to Nigeria as a source of inspiration, culturally, economically, and politically. We look to Nigeria for leadership in the African world. We look to Nigeria for sustenance and for support. And so it's important for us to be here, and it is especially important for me professionally, because as an economic developer and as one who regards himself as a global citizen, it is important to see the potential of African people to resurrect their own institutions and their own economics and their own politics in a way that serves their own interests. That the eras of bygone days in which others controlled and decided for us is something that we are resolutely committed to change. And I see the work that we're trying to do here as African people in the diaspora, simply bringing whatever skills and resources they have home to be made available to our people for our people's growth and our people's development. And so this is not just the normal technology transfer process, but rather it is deeply and profoundly a cultural reacquaintance with each other, if you would, a reestablishment of the ties of the family, if you would, and the technologies and the information and the resources that we bring to bear in a way are secondary and coincidental. What's more important is the love that I feel from the people here, the warmth and the graciousness that I feel, the desire clearly to resurrect the culture, resurrect the institutions, to redevelop the people. Those are the things that matter to me. And then the economic development issues flow from that. In my opinion, economic development is cultural development, because there can be no development without the affirmation of a people's culture. The way of life of the people is what is most important to us about Africa, those of us who are African living abroad. The way of life of our people, the sense of justice and humanity, the sense of sharing and caring for one another, values which we in the West think need to be resurrected. And so we look to Nigeria, we look to Africa as a source of inspiration, and the economic development work that we do is important, but it is a part and parcel of the cultural work. And I want that understood clearly, that economic development is cultural development. However, at the same time, culture is economic development too. I am constantly reminded by my good brother Shonuga of things that we need to re-examine in the film industry, for instance. I have been looking at the housing industry. We want to look at aspects of telecommunications and industrial development, all of which are very important in the context of how the people and how the country's culture wishes to proceed. And then people like myself who understand the technologies of development are simply instruments to be utilized to further your own goals and objectives. We do not come arrogantly presuming that we know best, or that we know anything for that matter. This is as much a learning process as it is a sharing process. But there is information based on other comparable experiences which we do think may have some relevance to the conditions that are needed for the development of a stable economy that is truly serving local needs. And so in that context and in that framework, on this particular trip for me, what I am hoping to do is to open the economic development discussions in the context of the cultural orientation of the country and its preferences for the nature and types of institutions which it develops. What I am anticipating is that at the end of this visit, there will be practical opportunities for partnerships and linkages between our peoples and between our respective environments that would allow us to bring specific inputs to Nigeria at a future date. Just as last year you had a cultural exchange from Wajumbe, it is our hope and my desire that one of the major outcomes of my trip here will be to bring a full delegation into Nigeria within the next year to specifically focus on the economic development issue. That practical people with practical and technical and investment orientations will meet their Nigerian counterparts, and that hopefully we can form those desired partnerships in the specific areas of economic development. And so I do want to warn you that I will be coming to see you again, perhaps with requests that you host us in an economic development exchange, and then at some juncture perhaps the economic development and cultural delegations will once again catch up with each other. But again, in behalf of Wajumbe and the people of the Republic of California, the African American community in particular, I want to thank all of you for the wonderful hospitality that you have shown me in the short time that I have been here, and wish to let you know that I am here to help in whatever way that I can that is fitting and appropriate of an African son returning home. So thank you very much.
To Nigeria, to Lagos State in particular, I've been briefed about the cultural linkages between us and your troop in California. I think this is a good thing. And yours is not only a cultural affair, you know. It includes economic development. This is very important too. I learned this includes small-scale industries. This is very important now, as well in our rural areas. Our rural dwellers will find it very, very useful, because the federal government has been doing a lot in improving the standard of living of our rural dwellers. I think you have a role to play here. I'm very grateful for the hospitality given to our troops when they went to California, I think a few years ago. One hopes that this type of linkages will continue, this cultural tie. We have a lot to learn from each other. In your own case, you are coming home. As I said, we have a lot to learn from each other. You're learning from us, we're learning from you. I only hope that this should not be allowed to die. We should improve on the tie, and I hope it's for the benefit of our two countries. So once again, you are welcome, and I wish you a successful tour of Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, too, sir.
That is where the greatest impact can be made. Because when they come in here, they are much more willing.
The chairman, deputy governor, would like to invite over to introduce the members of the high table. Our chairman for this occasion is the one and only Chief Executive of the University of Lagos, Professor
of the university and the faculty, Deputy Chancellor, Vice Chancellor, Principal, has made the taking of this third Biennial conference a reality. I wish to apologize for the postponement of the conference, which was formerly scheduled to hold on November 11, explained as a result of certain developments, especially from our sponsor, who thought the funding aspect will not materialize. However, with the various arrangements already made with the paper presenters and other interested public of Nigeria, as well as in many other developing countries, and even in developed, have become increasingly realized over the years. It has settled, mainly because of the unattended problems of the bulk of Nigerian enterprises that preponderantly fall within the small and medium scale category. Government can certainly not, in many countries, small, large, unemployed, so eagerly attempted to promote and encourage them. However, while some countries like South Korea, Taiwan, and other newly industrializing countries have benefited much from the promotion of their small and medium scale enterprises, Nigeria is yet to derive such significant benefits. This could be attributed mainly to Nigeria's failure over the past 3 decades since independence to face squarely, in a determinedly realistic manner, the arduous industrialization task. Past attempts and strategies to assist the development of SMEs have not yielded much, mainly because not much has been known about the extent and peculiar nature of the SMEs in the country and were invited. In the light of the above, this National Conference on SMEs in Nigeria is seen as one appropriate strategy by which we can contribute our own quota in this faculty and in the through course management has almost been completed by the Lagos University Press. We intend launching the book latest by the time of our annual business forum coming up in June. It is the friends of the faculty. Many of you are here with us. We are grateful. We have sent out requests to some and wish to use this moment to extend the appeal to our other friends who further encourage us to embark in earnest on the publication of the full papers presented at this conference. Again, to draw institutions and individuals to endow are listed at the end of the conference program of activities in our hands. The chairman, our special demonstration in having you all here present at this third National Biennial Conference. I wish to express the appreciation of my faculty, people of justice this morning. This should no doubt encourage us to maintain our contact with our alumna stay on in the past. So we continue to
particular and alumni. Congratulate the Faculty of Business on this significant occasion. We have cause to rejoice with the faculty because it has distinguished itself by its growth, development, and maturity since inception. The faculty has continued to play its academic role creditably, setting the pace in management education in the country. It has continued to train students for employment in research institutions and for industries at the undergraduate and postgraduate levels. We observe with pleasure that in spite of the inadequate facilities, the faculty has again produced a PhD, this time in industrial relations and personnel management.
As a 3-line order, I had decisions like this who give you most of your products, I think it's right and proper that you should give something back as well. So that's why I regard it as a three-line. Countries like ourselves, which are regarded as developing countries in particular. As has been stated, the objectives of this conference is to re-examine the financing, accountability, management, marketing, and politics of SMEs, bringing in practical illustrations as much as possible. I'm certain that when the conference gets underway, these various aspects of the SMEs will be discussed fully and recommendations made. And I'm particularly pleased